chit-chat. We are so glad that you are with us. We are still in the Love Is chapter, and we'll be here for a while. But last week, I feel like we talked about these sweet things like kindness, and and this week it's like takes this turn, and we're talking about things that nobody wants to talk about at all, and nobody wants to think about them for themselves. So today we're talking about envy, and we're talking about boasting. And both things nobody wants on their character trait list at all. But we all know that as sinners, as human beings, we've experienced boasting, both of ourselves doing it and of other people boasting to us, and that we've experienced envy, if it's not like the fight of all fights in middle class America, right? Like that is the fight, is envy. And so, yeah, Daly, what are your like initial thoughts on do not envy, do not boast, as a term, as a thought process of love is?
I think it's really interesting because I think we want to talk about it as far as like there's, we want to be loving people. And then we start doing all these acts of like loving, like the things we talked about before, like intentional kindness, being patient. So we start to work on those things. And then all of a sudden, these little stealthy things pop up. And they are, they're wicked. For Solomon to call it a rot in the bones, envy rots your bones. I think, how it really is something that can go underneath the surface without us ever noticing it. And then we're kind of like, now what?
Well, and I think the opposite of envy would be contentment. And right. Somebody within a 20-minute conversation, if they are living a life of contentment of where God has them, or if they're living a life of envy, of I need more money, I need more things, I need more power. It's like always grasping. So you can see how it rots the bones. You can just see it in facial features, in the way they carry themselves. It's more like a characteristic of life. Even those of us though that feel like we live in contentment, that envy does. It springs up all the time.
It does. And I guess because we are in the world but not of the world, right. So we're constantly doing and being around possessions and things and situations that are different than ours. And we're all kind of vying for where do I fit in this place, and somehow mostly because I think it's right in front of our eyes, it's the first thing we go to is the things we see about another person, the things they possess, the things that we possess, what we bring to the table. It now becomes like all the stuff instead of the who we are and whose we are, being a part of, I'm here, I am bought with a price, I'm not my own, I have a God who cares for me, and my desire is to represent him. And I'm okay with that.
I loved how you talked about your life situation and how that made you envious, because anybody reading that storyline and knowing you would say, of all people, she has a right to be envious.
Yeah, I'll admit there have been so many people that I've been like, I can't even be around them, because it has turned to that person now represents all my hopes deferred. The hopes deferred makes a heart sick. And their life represents all these things that I don't have. And you and I have talked about this before, but how God kind of took me on this journey of everybody's pain is their pain.
Yeah. Like, and you model that so well. I think there's been times, even in thinking of grief you've experienced, even recently with your dad passing, and for you to be able to see my life woes, which at times, most of the time, there's not an equal comparison, but for you to be able to see what my struggle is and honor that struggle even though on a life scale, if somebody was to say, here's the world scale, well, Daly's life struggle is definitely more than Melissa's. Therefore, she should not be complaining to Daly. I think it's very honoring that whole idea of everybody's struggle is their struggle has allowed me to have grace in other people's struggles who I'm like, what? I don't understand why that's a problem for you. It just has allowed me to see that differently, right? Because you extended that grace to me.
Well, and I think that I guess because we all forget, because we're all looking at each other, that like, I'm never going to stand in front of God and answer for your struggle or your life or what you have or what you did with what you had. Like, I'm going to stand before God and I'm going to answer for me. And what did I do with my 2, 5, or 10 talents? What did I do with the life, the story that God gave me? And the purpose is, we're all here to glorify him, period. So did I show Jesus through my life? And how can I encourage you to show Jesus in your life, whatever the story is? And so that really means we're all kind of on the same path. Yeah. We don't look at stuff.
Well, and that almost leads into boasting. For me, growing up in a Christian home, in a Christian family, very surrounded by Christian culture, I think it becomes really easy in a lot of areas to blanket Jesus on things and call it different things. So to call acts of kindness like good works, or to call adoption, oh, that's my good work to Jesus, or to call doing something good for somebody else something for Jesus, but really it's boastful. And that gets me to my core, and I have to watch myself, because until it was revealed to me, I practiced in it regularly. And then when it's revealed to you, it kind of makes you heartsick. This idea of using good works or acts of kindness or encouragement in society and calling them, this is for Christ, but plastering it on social media or plastering it in front of an audience so that others see and compare their life to what you've done.
Right. And that exacerbates the problem. Like, I do agree that social media has taken our sin and put it on display. I don't necessarily believe that it's made it worse. I just think it has revealed what is the human nature. Yeah. And I think that because ultimately all sin is a rooted heart issue. It's not this out here. It's really how is it that me interacting with this, my heart condition interacting with this now how's that fleshing out? And I think sometimes there's this narrative, because the language in Christianity is so pervasive that we talk about all of these good works or good things, and we're told to do good things. And even this chapter, love is this, and love is that, and love is this. Right. If we don't keep it down to, where's my heart?
Right.
Like, am I in Christ? Is this me and him? You know, what is this? And what is my intention here? What is my motive?
Because the world and culture, I don't want to say celebrates our sin, but in a lot of ways it does. When you boast about good things you've done for Christ, and the world says, great job, I'm proud of you, that's amazing, you're an all-star, it takes that away. It's no longer valid as worthy to Christ. The same as with envy right now, the big, huge thing, and I struggle with this even in our Frenchard start, is you've reminded me often, like, we're doing what God told us to do. Where God takes it is not our responsibility. And it's hard because so much of culture right now is grow your brand, do the next best thing. Like, look at these people's followers, look at these people's stories, look how much interaction they have. And to be okay with we're being obedient to what Christ called us to. We're going to tell our story. We're going to share our hearts. We're going to share what we're learning with the prayer that it reaches somebody, and not feel envy of the people who have gone before us and already have success in the world standards, or to not be boastful about what we're doing or not doing. It's a challenge. It's really hard. It's really hard to find the balance of being called to do something by Christ and rooting out continually over and over, okay, I feel envious right now, so I probably need to close my computer and put it away, or step away from social media. I feel like I posted something and I realized the intention of the post was just to boast, and I probably need to remove it. And that becomes hard of how you balance being active on social media, or being active in the world, or being a witness to others and continually putting yourself out there, but balancing it with, this is boastful or this is envious.
And it's hard because there's interpretations as well.
Yeah.
And that is a difficult thing. And I do think when we have, it's kind of good to know those people that you can go to. I can't tell you how many times I've sent you a box and been like, this is going to sound really braggy. And what I'm trying to tell you is, it's not coming from that place. And you know where I'm coming from when I start to kind of talk.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said for knowing the audience, being aware of your own heart in the issue. What am I bringing here that's my own stuff? Like, I know, I mean, and I said this in our check-in last month, that it's hard to be around people who have kind of the same stage as me. You know, all the cousins, the grandkids have grown up together. My kids are the oldest, but they're also the only two with special needs. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard to negotiate that. And God has had to really, really reduce me, if that makes any sense. Like, reduce me to a place where I don't have to see that anymore. It doesn't have to be my focus. I can say, Lord, when I feel those feelings of envy, or when I want to boast or say something, it has changed in this way where I'm saying, Lord, make me faithful. Forgive me that somewhere in my world, I want it to be more. I'm envious of what you have not said was good for me. And make me faithful with what you've given me. And I think, like, plugging into that source for me has been this haven, because because it's a tough thing to negotiate. Where is the line?
It is. And I think too, it has to be said that these are really hard topics. And for somebody, you had said to me, you said in your blog, give a healthy dose of confidence. How do you balance that? And I do have to balance it all the time. And I think I think of other women who do not have a healthy dose of confidence to dive into these issues feels like weight. It's not like, okay, I need to weed out envy and boasting in my life, but my identity's in Christ and I'm good, so let's work on it. It feels like I am failing every time I mess up, right? And so I think it needs to be noted that God's grace is big enough to cover every time you boast and every time you envy. Like, that grace is so vast that if you're not on I have a healthy dose of confidence and can dive into these issues and walk out feeling okay, that you need to know that God's grace and love totally covers you even trying to step into, do I need to look at envy and boasting? Are they present in my life?
Right. And even just noting, like you said, like, I posted this probably after, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have. There was even the hint of a boasting. It's kind of that, if there's the hint of something, I need to kind of step away from it. But like, that's life. We are in the world, like, it's everywhere. And so a part of, having this core friendship is noting that when those people are saying, Yeah, I see where people could perceive that. I get your heart intention and saying, I see your story. I understand the background, the balance there, and reminding you of the grace of God in that,
Yeah.
and allowing you the space to mess up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, it's one of those things like there are a lot of people who've been like, you know what, I'm done with social media because of this. Like it could ruin my witness, it could ruin relationships. And I think where I am today, which may not be where I am forever, is there needs to be voices of Christ in social media.
Right.
And there needs to be people speaking truth in social media. And so that kind of propels me on to like to hold it a little bit because I do desire to be a light in a place that could be very dark. But that doesn't mean that we have it just gives us a heavier like I don't know balance to hold that you're filtering things all the time.
Mm-hmm. And it's true. And using that, we can't use each other as a comparison or a measure because that only breeds the envy and the boasting. They feed off each other.
Yeah.
And the way to stop the cycle is to say, you are who you are in Christ. He has provided what you need for everything that He has given you to manage and to face. And I'm a witness to that. And I'm going to keep saying to you, as my friend, hey, keep up the good work. Like, don't give up. Keep going. It's going to be okay. He is enough. And that is the point of relationships, I think, and how God grows us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's why reminding each other, talking about these things, push away the judgment and the condemnation and the heaping the weight on, but just the constant reminder of He is good. Let's keep going. He
Yeah.
is good. Let's keep going. Because it's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. Remind me, because I'm like in my head, like, okay, love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, not easily angered.
Not prideful and is not easily angered. I think.
Yeah, I think pride and anger are our next two. So we're sticking with the really hard topics.
Tired.
Like things that are like, oh, that kind of hurts. How much personal stuff do I tell, right? Because it's there. But the interesting thing that I think going into next week is I had asked you the difference of pride and boasting as I was really trying to filter it. And you said pride is a matter of the heart and boast is the action that comes from pride. And so that really helped me. So next week, make sure you check in with us and we will be chit-chatting about love is not easily angered and love is not prideful.
That's right.
Okay. We will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.